Are you ready to work with me on learning a couple of new tools that you can add to your tool bag to know all the things that good readers do when they're reading? Yes. Great, because I know that Miss Dolan has been working with you to give you some tools for how to think about what writers are trying to tell you in their books, right? Yes. Right? And sometimes you make connections. Yes. And sometimes you ask questions. Yes. And have you been doing some inferring up here? Yes. All right, well today I'm bringing you a new toolbox, and it has some of the things that you've already done before and a couple of new things. Are you ready to find out what's in my toolbox? Yes. All right, this is a really important toolbox because these 4 things that we're going to do today are 4 things that young readers, old readers, mom and dad readers, college readers, everybody does these 4 things every time they read when they are really trying to understand what the writer's trying to tell them. Because what you think is the most important part, right? What you think and what you learn from what writers are trying to tell you. So let me show you. Can I show you now what the 4 things are? All right, one of the things that readers do all the time while they're reading is something you've already studied before, but I'm going to make sure when we do it, we know what we're getting ready to do. Readers ask questions. And I bet you guys can help me do that. They ask questions. Do you know what the question words are? Who can tell me what some of the question words are? Raise your hand. Who knows what words questions begin with? What's one? I will come back to you. What's one? What? Okay, that's one of them.
When.
When.
Why.
Why.
You.
Not a you, but it rhymes with you.
Your.
Who. Who. Okay, so we have what, when, why, who. There's another one. What's this? How, and one more. Where I think we did, and
I know. When.
When we have.
What?
And what? That is the other one. So when we ask questions that begin with who, what, where, when. Didn't you guys name all of those? Why or how. And we try to ask questions to help us remember what the writer was trying to tell us. So when we get ready to ask questions, I'll put on my questioning hat and I'll get out the microphone. Okay? So we know when this comes out, it's time to ask a question. Now there's something else that readers do while they're reading. Sometimes you're reading along and everything makes sense, and then all of a sudden it's like, bump! What is that word? I've never heard that word before. Or, bump! What is that writer saying? I just don't get it. Where you feel a little bit confused. You ever feel a little bit confused sometimes when somebody's reading a story to you or when you're reading a book? You know how sometimes it gets confusing? Well, when that happens, we are going to stop and clarify. And you will know when it's time to clarify, because we'll get out the big glasses and we'll get out a magnifying glass to take a closer look. And when we get ready to clarify, I'm going to teach you how to do all of these things up here to clarify. But I'm not going to teach you right this minute. We're going to look at it in a minute. But there are some things that readers can do to really get very clear about what the writer is saying. Okay? So you'll be ready for clarifying. Those are big glasses. That's to take a closer look. Now, sometimes when you clarify, you might say, I wonder what that means. Okay? So we'll remember to do that. Now, when readers get all done reading a part, you read a little bit and then you ask yourself a question. You look for something to clarify. And then you try and figure out So what was that all about? And that's when you get ready to summarize. Now, who knows what this is? What is this?
Sieve.
It's a sieve or a sifter. Where do I use this thing?
It uses to get sand and rocks out, so the rocks will stay in, and you'll sometimes collect colorful rocks.
That's right. You just keep the big things up here, and the little things
Go out.
fall out. So when we get ready to summarize, we're going to let the little details fall out and just try to hold on to the big thing, the big idea, okay? And I'll teach you how to do that. So we have, let's see if you can remember. We have, what am I doing now? Everybody tell me. Questioning. And what do questions start with? Who, what, when, where, why, or how. Okay. Now, sometimes when we're reading, we get a little confused, so then we are going to clarify. We're going to clear it up. Figure out what it means.
Big glasses.
And when we're all done reading, we're going to try to hold on. After we clarify, then we're going to try and hold on to the big things. We're going to summarize. Put it just in a few words. What's the big idea? Because what's going to happen to the little things? All the little details. We're going to just let them fall out. And then the last thing we're going to do when we finish reading a little bit and we're getting ready to read a little bit more is we will make a prediction. There's another time when we make a prediction. Do you guys make predictions before you start to read?
No.
You try to think about, what is this going to tell me? Readers do that. They get ready. When they get ready to read, they put on their wizard's hats, they get out their magic wand, and they think, what is this going to be about? So look at my book here I brought with me. Bird beaks. And look at these pictures. I am predicting from the title, Bird Beaks. And because there are two birds here showing their beaks, I think that this is going to teach me about not all about birds. I'm thinking it's just going to tell me about just the beaks. You know what? Should we clarify what a beak is before we get started? Let's see. Can we look all around on the page to get an idea about what is a beak? What do you think?
I think it's their mouth.
Something with their mouth? All right. Does anybody have predictions about these beaks? Let me go back now, back to our prediction. What do you predict it might tell us about bird beaks?
Sometimes they have noses on their beaks, so we can smell and we can search for fish food.
Okay, so maybe it will tell us they use bird beaks for sniffing and finding fish food. One more thing it might tell us about beaks. What's your prediction, Evan?
The beaks can hold a lot of fish in it.
Okay, so we're going to see if they can sniff to find fish, and we're going to see if it tells us they can hold a lot of fish in their beak. Okay, are we ready to find out?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to put this down, and let's get ready to read. All right, we have bird beaks. Bird beaks. I'm going to move this right over here. All right. Some people use a knife and fork to eat their meals. Others use a spoon or chopsticks. But birds use their beaks. What is a question that I could ask to see if you were thinking about what was here? I have a question, and it starts with what? Let's see who can answer my question. What do birds use their beaks for? What do birds use their beaks for? What do you think? What was it telling us? For eating, all right? Now let's see. After I asked a question, next we're going to clarify something that might have been a little confusing. Let's make sure everybody is clear about what are chopsticks. Chopsticks. Now let's see. When we clarify, we are going to read all around that word. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to read around the word chopsticks. I'm going to start over here. Some people use a knife and fork to eat their meals. Others use a spoon or chopsticks. When I'm reading that, I'm thinking they're talking about things to... things you eat with. Now look up here. Now I'm going to search my schema. You guys have used the word schema in here? Okay, I'm searching in my mental files, looking in my schema. Have I seen or heard the word chopsticks before? Who can help me think about what's in my schema so I can clarify this? Where have you seen or heard the word chopsticks?
I saw chopsticks at Chinese food place.
Oh, that's right. I have heard that word before, and I have seen them too. Who can describe that for me so I can think about what it looks like?
Sometimes people eat it with rice and chicken, and they're made out of wood, and you hold it in a certain way.
Okay, they're made out of wood. You hold them in a particular way, and who can help me be very clear in my mental image what it looks like? They're made out of wood and...
they're two sticks.
Two sticks. That makes it very clear to me. Now let's see if we can study the structure means take those words apart. Let's see, we have chopsticks. Can we take that word apart to make it clearer?
There's two words into it, chop and sticks.
Chop and sticks. There's that word, sticks. That helps us really get that picture in our head. And now we can make a substitution. If I take out the word chopsticks, what is another word I could put in there to mean about the same thing, the same idea? What are you thinking of?
Wood sticks.
Wood sticks. Okay, let's see. Some people use a knife and fork to eat their meals. Others use a spoon or wooden sticks. Do I get the right picture in my head?
Yeah.
Then we have it all cleared up now. Thank you very much. Now, let's see if we can summarize. What do I need to summarize? What do I use down here?
That thing.
Yes, the sifter. All right, there's a bunch of details in here, a bunch of ideas, but I want all the little ones to fall out, and I just want the main thing. And I think the main thing is that birds use their beaks to eat. Do you think that's what the writer's trying to tell us?
Yes.
Now let's count how many words that is. Birds use their beaks to eat. Ooh, did I make it nice and short?
6.
Yeah, only 6 words. You try to stay around 10 words. So we know that this is all about birds use their beaks. Now let me think. Before I start reading, I need to think about, you guys said your predictions were, my prediction was it was going to teach us about beaks. Is it talking about birds' beaks?
Yeah.
And then one prediction was it was going to tell us that they could smell fish. Have they told us that yet?
No.
No. Has it told us that they can fit lots of fish in their beaks?
No.
Not yet, but it might. Now, who, after we finished reading this part, who can make a prediction about what they think it's going to tell us on the next page? What do you think?
Maybe it's going to talk about smelling.
About smelling. So now we know they use their beaks to eat. Next, they'll tell us they use their beaks to smell. Okay, one more prediction.
Maybe it could be all those things that you said.
Oh, about
On
the fish and smelling, all of those things together?
It might be on both 2 pages.
Okay, one more prediction. What's your prediction?
I was actually going to tell you it's actually 5 words, not 6.
Oh, I only said 5 words? Okay, thanks for helping me count. All right, shall we see if it tells us more about the beaks? All right, let's take a look. Each bird has a special beak to catch its favorite food. Some birds that live by the sea have long, thin beaks. The birds poke their beaks into the sand, looking for shellfish and sea worms. So we were predicting that they might smell with their beaks to find fish. What do you guys think? Is it telling us that? It's not telling us why. What's different? What's different?
Like some birds don't eat much food.
Oh, has it told us that yet? No, but what is it telling us about smelling and lots of fish in the beak? Did it tell us that part?
Yes.
What part? What are you thinking about? What did the writer tell us to make you think yes?
Because he said they can smell, they stick their beak in the water, they smell for shells and worms.
It did say the birds poke their beaks into the sand looking for shellfish, but their eyeballs sure aren't down there, are they? No, but we still don't know really for sure if it smells, but certainly they're using their beaks, aren't they, to look for them. All right, now let's see. We went back and checked our predictions, so now this is what we need to do. Let me see if I can ask you a question about what it said here. Let's see. Now I have to read it to myself to ask a good question. Each bird has a special beak to catch its favorite food. Some birds live by the sea, have long, thin beaks. The birds poke their beaks into the sand, looking for shellfish and sea worms. I'm going to ask a question that starts with how. Can I use the word how? Is that one of the words we said? Okay. How do the birds use their beaks to find food? How do the birds use their beaks to find food? Let me see. How about back here?
They poke their beaks into the water looking for food.
They poke their beaks into the sand looking for food. Is that what this writer told us? Yeah. Yes, we did learn that. All right, now let's see. Can we find something that seems a little confusing? Something we might clarify. I think we want to be sure what is poke. The birds. Now, before we clarify, to help us clarify poke, let's read all around it. Can you guys help me read all around it? Let's see. The word is right here, so we'll start here. The birds poke their beaks into the sand, looking for shellfish and sea worms. What are you thinking? What are you thinking that might mean when we read that? Can somebody picture that?
Come back to me.
Okay. What do you think?
They might stick their beaks into the sand.
Oh, maybe stick their beaks into the sand. Let's see. Search your schema. Have you seen or read or heard that word poke before? Who has heard the word? You have. Can you tell us where you've heard or seen it?
I forgot.
Where have you seen or heard the word poke before? What are you thinking?
Sometimes you can poke something into sand.
Into sand? Have you poked things into sand before? Like what do you poke into sand sometimes?
Well, once I was making a huge sandcastle in the sandbox, and I was poking rocks into it, so because people were trying to punch it down.
Okay, so you poke them inside. You put it inside. Okay, yeah. All right, now let's study the structure of poke. I can't think of anything about how we could take that word apart, but let's see if we can make a substitution. What happens if we take out the word poke? What's a word we could put in there that would almost mean the same thing? The birds poke their beaks into the sand. Who can help me make a substitution?
Stick.
Stick, let's try it. The birds stick their beaks into the sand. Is that what you're picturing? Yeah, let's see. We could just stick it in there, right? All right. Now, after we clarify poke, then next we need to summarize. We're going to sift out the details. There's lots of information here. We got to think about what is the main thing the writer's trying to tell us. Each bird has a special beak to catch its favorite food. Some birds that live by the sea have long, thin beaks. The birds poke their beaks into the sand looking for shellfish and sea worms. Okay, this is all about only one kind of bird. What kind of bird is this writer telling us about? Which birds?
Birds that live near the sea.
Okay, so I think I'm going to start with that. Seabirds. Oh, what is he trying to tell us about the seabirds? One idea, the big idea. Not all the details. What's the big idea about seabirds? Seabirds.
Poke their beaks into the sand to get some food.
Okay, that's pretty long, so let me see if I can really narrow that down. Let out some more of those details. So seabirds poke, that is tough. Seabirds poke their beaks. Let's see if that works. You're counting. Seabirds poke their beaks into the sand to find food. We have one extra word. That's pretty good, isn't it? You think that's what the writer was trying to tell us here?
11.
All right. Now, before we go on to the next page, what do you predict the writer will tell us about on the next page? Who has a prediction? Let's see. I'm going to use what I know so far. So far, it talked about birds use their beaks to eat food. This page told me that seabirds poke their beaks into the sand. This one told me about seabirds. What do you think the writer might tell us next? Okay.
Do all birds have long beaks?
Oh, good question. Maybe we'll find out when we read this. Do all birds have long beaks? Do you think that's what it's going to tell us about on the next page? Or is that something you're wondering about? You're predicting that they might tell us all birds have long beaks? What are you predicting?
I'm predicting next that I think that next is going to happen that some birds can be big or small.
Some birds can be big and some birds can be small. Maybe it'll talk about the size of birds. What are you predicting?
Ducks are almost the same as those birds.
Like
they have a little bit long beak.
They do, but their beaks aren't long and skinny, are
No,
they?
they're like
kind of
fat,
fat.
like that.
Yeah. So maybe ducks have a different way of eating. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking the book is called Bird Beaks. So I'm thinking the next page is going to tell me something else about their beaks. Maybe that's what it will tell us about. And we will have to find out tomorrow what it tells us about their beaks, or about if they're some are big or some are small, or if it's going to tell us about the fish. Remember, we haven't found out about the fish thing yet. And there was one other idea, a prediction about their size. So we'll have to find that out tomorrow. So we have talked about 4 things readers do all the time while they read. I'm going to put on things and you tell me what they do. One thing they do is, tell me, ask questions. And what do questions start with? Who, what, when, where, why, or how. And we also know that readers, when they get confused, they stop and clarify. They clarify. They read all around it and search their schema, study the structure, or they make a substitution. Remember, we took a word out and put another word in. And we also know when readers are finished with a little part of the book, they stop and they summarize. They tell themselves, that was all about. And what do they do when they summarize? What do they do when they summarize? What did we do? What did we do? We sifted out the
little things.
The little things, and we just held on to
The big things.
the big thing, the main thing the writer's trying to tell you. And we always are thinking about what the writer has been telling us so we can predict what will come